So now that I've beaten Stalker 2 a few times and have modded the game myself, run some mods, and gone through all these balance changes and patches, what do I think about the game? What do I think the game's future is? So, in terms of balancing, the guns overall are relatively fine, with assault rifles being noticeably weak and SMGs and shotguns being kind of dominant. Sniper rifles feel kind of okay. They're definitely not the best thing in the game because they can't rapidly kill enemies like the other weapons tend to be able to, but at least they can one-shot headshot a lot of different enemies, and they have like a high skill ceiling and are pretty fun to use. Now for things like the Rhino, I think this is like the most fun pistol alongside the APS-B in terms of damage. I do think Skiff's pistol is still a little bit too oppressive in terms of outclassing the M10 Gordon and the UDP, just making them completely useless, as well as outclassing generic PTMs, because it's just a PTM that weighs nothing, so it's objectively better than other PTMs. I would like to see the other pistols get some kind of buff. I'd like to see assault rifles get a kind of buff. I don't know that they should really nerf SMGs and shotguns. Maybe nerf SMGs slightly. Also, I would like to see like a master mode. I think that's really the big thing that I think the game is missing, is a higher difficulty. In the current build of the game in 1.2.1, it's still too easy to just tank enemies with an exosuit. You take almost no damage and can just sit in combat, eating tons of damage from many enemies. And then, you know, after you take so much damage, you can just stab yourself with a needle, full heal, and just continue on as if the enemies are not a threat. And I do think that is an issue. I think enemy damage on the highest difficulty is too low, so maybe add a master mode if that was possible. That'd be something that'd be cool to see. Master mode would be nice, weapon balancing would be nice. Maybe some artifact rebalancing, maybe make some of the useless or redundant artifacts have different unique effects. I would like to see some artifacts that improve movement speed. I think that could be a very interesting upgrade. Maybe diversify the armors as well. Currently, it's pretty much like all exosuits are largely the same with some subtle differences, and other exosuits just being statistically better. So maybe some more uniqueness to exosuits would be an interesting and welcome change. Aside from diversifying armor and making more weapons better and making a higher difficulty and the artifact changes, I think that's really all the game needs right now. Maybe some changes to the map for more points of interest, stuff like this, if the developers are open to doing that. They did do it in a recent patch, so that's why I mentioned it. I have heard people complaining about the A-Life now looting everything, so like you would find it, like you'll find a corpse and there'll just be nothing on it. You know, it's looted already, and very often it'll get looted by a friendly NPC, so if you were to try to get that loot, you'll have to kill a friendly NPC to then get loot. So it's kind of questionable as to how you can get that loot. So in a way, just playing overall without doing artifact farming was nerfed, because you can no longer get nearly as much loot if friendly NPCs are present, and they typically are present. I would say diversifying armor would be interesting. Also, non-exosuit armors being more viable. Armor having different types of effects. Like maybe there's armor that's like lightweight armor that makes you move faster and jump higher. That could be cool. Maybe there's more armor that gives you hip fire accuracy bonus. Maybe there's even armor that like gives you more damage or other things. Like maybe there's, you know, artifacts that allow you to deal damage over time. Like you shoot an enemy and it puts like a poison DOT on them or something. The hell just threw that at me? The heck was that? What was that, dude? What was that? I just got like shot by like a homing beacon or something. All right, I'm invested. It's a dog. It's another dog. Yet another dog. So far, just dogs. Alright, so something just threw something at me. That's weird. Alright, but anyways, more interesting things, more gameplay diversity for the sake of like different builds, stuff like that. More interesting artifacts would be nice if the devs are watching this. I doubt they are, but if they are, those things would be cool. Because some of the artifacts are just like shock resistance, fire resistance, and honestly, those are kind of useless. You don't encounter those damage types unless you go artifact hunting for the most part, and typically you avoid those damage types. Now, maybe if there were enemies that use those damage types. Oh, I think it's a poltergeist that threw something. It's like, what the hell? What just hit me? It's a poltergeist, probably. But more enemies with more damage types, maybe more damage types from the player. I'm not asking for like full-on abilities like magic and stuff, but I mean, it would be cool if we had access to like a flamethrower or weapons that could deal fire damage, and maybe ways of enhancing like ballistic damage, fire damage, melee damage. It'd be cool if there's an artifact that made the knife do like 3 times damage. Like something interesting like that, so you can then stab mutants. Because then it allows for interesting playthroughs, which keeps people replaying the game. I think the game already has like good choices to be made, so like story-wise, I wouldn't really change anything. Obviously, performance improvements wherever possible. The game right now runs okay. I usually get like around 30 frames or lower in Pripyat, which is kind of like the worst area for me personally that I've noticed is getting like bad frame rates in Pripyat. But overall, I think the game is headed in a good direction. Each update is kind of breathing a little bit of new life into the game and fixing some issues. But yeah, definitely assault rifles, more armor, diversity, more artifact diversity, maybe different passives. I do like the nerf on Weird Water. It was way too good. It just outshined every single artifact in the game that reduces radiation damage from other artifacts because it just had beyond the maximum. So it outdid Liquid Rock, but now it's worse than Liquid Rock, which is good. It's also worse than anything that can reduce a strong effect. So some people don't like that because they're used to the overpowered thing, but this is what you do when you design a game and you balance a game. You go through balance iterations, and when things are overtuned, they do get nerfed. Even in a single-player game, if you like the old one, it is just overpowered, and I think it's boring because then you don't really have choices to make. Like, oh, I can run, Weird Water for the medium effect and then for the carry weight, or I can run Liquid Rock and something else for some other effect. So it just was like a default option. And games that have choices should have interesting reasons to make one choice versus another. So Liquid Rock could be like the best anti-radiation thing, but Weird Water also gives you huge carry weight, which might be your goal anyways. But Liquid Rock is more universal in that it can be used on any type of artifact. And also, am I the only one that thought like this was supposed to be a zipline? Like in Metro Exodus? It almost looks like they were thinking about it. Does it not? Like, doesn't this look like they were intending on adding ziplining? Because like one of the cool things in Metro Exodus was there were different zip lines you could attach to and zip line down to get from point A to point B rapidly, especially at the end of like climbing a big tower. And very often you'd climb a tower, get some items, some loot, and then you could zip line to a new location, or in some cases a secret location. So maybe some more things like this that open up the map in an interesting way would be really awesome, and I would love to see that in this game. And also maybe boats. I know they probably are hesitant to add boats because then you can get access to areas they probably don't want you to get access to right away. But boats could be cool. Like with boats, you could go from point A to point B, over water. And then obviously if you fall in the water, you die. It was weird to me that there were like perfectly functional boats in the game, but then you can't go in them. Obviously boats can break progression in a way. I think we might have to ditch progression in Stalker 2. Because as soon as you get into the garbage region, you have access to like most of the game and can just grab endgame weapons immediately. So unless they start intentionally like blocking off things and like quest gating them, I don't really see a reason to not allow for boats. Like maybe after the beginning of the game, you unlock boats and can like use them and shit, and like little icons appear letting you know where boats are. I think boats and zip lines would do a lot to open up mobility in the game and make it less just like sprinting simulator where you're just constantly running around, just collecting items and running. Maybe also like more little outposts where there's like small groups of traders with guides and stuff, like either temporary guides or small guides. Like maybe this is like a little outpost is like a guard or two for some nearby faction, and there's like a little merchant and a little guide spread throughout the map, and you can only guide to main settlements from there, but then you can at least get out. Some like quality of life things like that would be really nice. But overall, definitely want a higher difficulty as the main thing. I've been going out of my way to mod one myself. That's how badly I want it. Because like it just feels like combat's not lethal enough. If you know what you're doing, you can easily avoid dying in every fight, including boss fights. So nothing really feels too dangerous. And overall, the biggest killer, I would say, is just frame drops over like combat. Like if I peek an enemy and like miss 5 shots in a row, I can probably tank him and then just heal. Whereas in Stalker SOC, if I missed a dude at point blank, even with good armor, I would just get melted. That's how Metro Exodus is also. Like if you're caught out in the open in a firefight, actually in Metro Exodus, if you peek the same position twice, you'll just get one tapped with a headshot. Like the game doesn't care about the player. It's like you will die. So like if you were playing like this in Metro Exodus, you would just get headshot. You would have to like take a few shots and then change angles. So I'd have to like maybe find this angle, maybe do like a jump shot, maybe like a jump hip fire shot, which still can be relatively accurate, especially when crouching. You'd have to like find different angles, shoot through here, because what'll happen is they'll like fixate on your position and then headshot you. So something interesting like that could be added if possible, where they go for headshots, they get headshot damage, stuff like that, to kind of like reward repositioning and being like active about how you're managing your firefight. So, all right, that is it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you found this interesting or useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.